Yeah, ready to go. It's Adam the Bull in the bullpen. It is Wednesday and a lot to get to today. On the show later, we'll talk about the Guardians splitting a doubleheader with the White Sox. We'll get into ESPN's top 10 list of running backs. It's not really ESPN compiled the list, but it's the list that have been going out all week. They're really being ranked by NFL executives and scouts and coaches and stuff, but ESPN is putting it together. Where is Nick Chubb? Where is Kareem Hunt? The wide receiver list came out this morning as well. We'll hit on that. Plus, eventually the quarterback situation is going to be decided. We got to look at the rest of the team. We spent so much time talking about the quarterback. We have not spent enough time talking about the rest of the team. I will break down the rest of the Browns roster, how good they are to be able to sustain a Watson suspension, and we'll break it all down. Coming up next, it's the Bullpen with Adam the Bull.
Podcast is not for the faint of heart.
And I do think it's time for the Browns to move on.
It's not for those who ride the fence.
He's proven nothing.
But if you're looking for someone who tells it like it is about Cleveland sports,
everybody does fandom their way.
You've come to the right place.
I don't think he's any good.
It's time for the Bullpen with Adam the Bull.
Do. Yes, it is time for the Bullpen with Adam the Bull. And eventually, as I said, we will get a result. We will know how many games Deshaun Watson is suspended for. Is it weird? I got 3 Rocky pictures on my shirt. See? But with the microphone, it looks like it's just here. I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird shirt, but I love it. Anyway, eventually we'll get the suspension. Eventually we'll know who the starting quarterback is, but who will be playing around the starting quarterback and how good really is the rest of this Browns team? Is it exceptional? Is it good? Is it average? Is it overrated? What's the deal with the rest of the roster? We've talked some about it, of course. It's not been completely ignored, but there's been so much talk about the quarterback position that, especially on my podcast, which is, I think this is the 12th episode I've done, I haven't really broken down the rest of the team much, and now it's time to do so. The first question, who will be protecting whoever the quarterback is for however many games? Now, I do have some questions about the Browns' offensive line. There's some unknown things, but the good news is the unknown is not the talent. The Browns have a lot of talent on the offensive line. We know they have proven studs at guard with Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller. The other 3 spots, there's more unknowns. 2 when it comes to youth and 1 when it comes to injury. Jack Conklin at right tackle, we know he's a tremendous player. When he's been healthy, he's been excellent for the Browns. The question is, can he stay healthy? If he does, they've got a 3rd stud. If he doesn't, then we're going to Chris Hubbard, who has, struggled when he's been in there, but at least he's a professional. Some of these other guys they've had to put in, at least Hubbard, you could get by with Hubbard, okay? But if Conklin can stay healthy, then you have a 3rd stud. Now, at left tackle, Jedrick Wills, as a rookie, was okay. He was okay, but there's room to grow. Last year, he struggled. Obviously, there was injury. I don't make excuses for injuries. He needs to play better is the bottom line. And at center, we have Nick Harris. J.C. Tretter, surprising to me, is still a free agent, but obviously the Browns are not going back down that road. Be interesting to see if he gets another job. I'm frankly shocked. Now, he's a veteran. He's a good player. Wouldn't take him long. Maybe he's waiting to avoid some training camp. I don't know. I'm just surprised because he should be a starting center for some team. It's really surprising to me, but whatever. I don't know. He may have his reasons, or there may be a reason. Maybe it's him being the head of the union. Maybe that's factoring in. I don't know. But the bottom line is Nick Harris is a talented young player. I think he's going to be at least solid, but I do think when obviously the center quarterback relationship is an important one, and this is going to be a new experience because we have new quarterbacks and a new center. And he's a young player. He hasn't played much. So I am a little concerned about the center position. Now, again, I do think he's a talented player. I think he will be okay in the long run. And I've said this before, and everybody that has played the NFL, any offensive lineman I've spoken to will tell you this. You don't have to have 5 great offensive linemen. You just can't have anybody that's terrible, right? That will kill you. You're better off having 5 solid guys than 3 stars and 2 scrubs. Now, the Browns may be in a situation where they're the best of both worlds, where if Conklin's healthy, they have 3 stars and 2 solid guys. And maybe Jedrick Wills and Nick Harris are better than average. I'll take average from those guys this year. I'd like better than that from Jedrick Wills especially because he was a first-round pick and he showed some good potential as a rookie. And I think there's a decent chance we'll get better than average. But as long as those guys are average, the Browns' offensive line should be really good. I know that Warren Sharp from Sharp Football Analysis recently, he and some of his team ranked the offensive line units. And it was interesting because I don't know how many people voted. I don't think it was a lot. But nobody voted the Browns number 1. And yet the Browns finished number 1 because almost everybody voted them number 2. And then 1, 3, and 4 were kind of a mix. So the Browns, I think have a top 5 offensive line if they're healthy. Obviously, they do too. The people that study this know, Pro Football Focus as well. There's no stats really no obvious stats that we're seeing in the box score. Well, it's football, not baseball. But there's no obvious stats on the offensive line. The bottom line is the Browns, if healthy, which you could say for every team, should be in good to great shape protecting whoever the quarterback is. Now, we know that behind the quarterback, this team is exceptional at the running back position. You're going into the season with Nick Chubb, who is as good a back as there is in the league. You're going in with Kareem Hunt, who's as good a back as there is in the league. And you're going in with D'Ernest Johnson as your third guy. And we know when D'Ernest Johnson has had his opportunity, he has performed. D'Ernest Johnson could be a starting running back, I believe, for a few teams. And at the very least, he's a number 2 back for the majority of the teams in the NFL. On the Browns, he's number 3. They drafted Jerome Ford this year in the 5th round. They still have Demetric Felton. So there's some depth at that position. It'll be interesting to see what they do because you're not going to keep all these backs. He just drafted Ford. He drafted Felton last year. They're both later picks, and Felton could kind of get into the wide receiver mix as well. But there is a glut at that position, and you wonder if that could lead to some sort of trade late in training camp or something. I wouldn't be surprised if D'Ernest Johnson, and I love D'Ernest. He's been tremendous since he's been here, but I wouldn't be surprised if D'Ernest ended up somewhere else via trade, because he can help a team, and maybe you trade him for a defensive lineman, or you trade him for a linebacker, or, who knows? I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen. I'm not looking for the Browns to get rid of D'Ernest Johnson, but I could see it because they've got such excellent depth at the position. I mentioned that ESPN has been doing these top 10 lists where they've asked executives, coaches, and players and scouts to make a top 10 list. We discussed the quarterback on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show yesterday. We discussed interior offensive linemen. Yesterday they released a running back list. This morning they released a wide receiver list. So let me start at running back, where Nick Chubb ended up number 3 behind Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor. Kareem Hunt is not on the list. Let's see. I can't remember if he's on the other receiving votes. Honorable mention, Eckler, Elliott Barkley. Others receiving votes, Josh Jacobs. No. Now, Kareem Hunt didn't even receive a vote, okay? There were 16 running backs that received votes. So, and maybe it's because he doesn't play as much because he's Nick Chubb's backup, but there are not 16 running backs better than Kareem Hunt. This is absurd. He's better than Antonio Gibson. He's better than Miles Sanders, and he's better than Josh Jacobs, who all were others receiving votes. I don't know why somebody would vote for Saquon Barkley over Kareem Hunt. Saquon Barkley has barely been on the field for the last few years. And unlike Christian McCaffrey, who's been like Barkley and McCaffrey have both been hurt a lot. But when McCaffrey has been healthy, he's still been great. When Barkley's had those rare moments of health, he has not been great. He was terrible last year on the Giants. There's no way he's better than Kareem Hunt. I think Kareem Hunt's better than Zeke Elliott. I'm surprised Austin Eckler didn't make the top 10. I would have had him up there. They're going with a lot of upside in Javonte Williams, who hasn't actually done much. I think Kareem Hunt's better than Najee Harris. I would probably have Kareem Hunt as high as 8 on this list. Now, because he hasn't played as much as some of these other guys, I'd have him lower, but that's the point. I mean, in my mind, the Browns, Nick Chubb's as good as anybody. Kareem Hunt's right there. They have 2 of the top 10 backs in the league. This is a major advantage that no other team has. No other team. There's some other teams that have really, Dallas has got 2 good backs with Zeke and Pollard. And who else has got 2 good backs? I feel like I'm forgetting one other team. It's not coming to me right now. Well, actually, the Broncos. Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. I think Melvin Gordon is highly underrated. But those combos, and I feel like I'm forgetting one other combo, but those combos do not compare to Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. If Kareem Hunt were on another team as the primary back, he'd be in the top 5 of this list too. At worst, the top 7 or 8. Certainly the top 10. He's a stud. At wide receiver, Amari Cooper didn't even make the list. Not even the others receiving votes, and I think 20 guys got votes. Amari Cooper, Amari's got his ups and downs. He, at times, disappears. I think the talent is better than the production. Hopefully, when he eventually plays with Deshaun Watson, it'll be better. I don't have a problem with Amari Cooper being off the list. He's an excellent route runner. But he's got to step up his game. There's no doubt. And they need him to be a number 1 wide receiver. He's not an elite wide receiver. I think he's very good. I think he still has the potential to be even better than that. Odell Beckham did get a vote. I don't know how many. He was in the others receiving votes. He was not in the top 10 list. In this division, obviously Jamar Chase was 3 from the Bengals. T. Higgins, others receiving votes. Deontay Johnson on others receiving votes, and that's it. So 3 guys in this division. I think when you look at the Browns at wide receiver, there are question marks. There's no doubt. It's a position that I feel okay about, but not great about. I do like Amari Cooper. I do think when he eventually plays with Deshaun Watson, I think he'll put up some big numbers. Beyond him, there's a lot of question marks. I think that's pretty obvious. David Bell and Donovan Peoples-Jones will get the most playing time, I assume. Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's done a nice job for a guy who was drafted in the 6th round the last few years, and David Bell, of course, is the 3rd round pick of this past season. David Bell was a productive player in college. I really like his potential. I don't think he's going to be a superstar, but I'm actually kind of high on David Bell and Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think that the Browns wide receiving core is going to be solid. I don't really love anybody beyond that. Anthony Schwartz showed nothing last year. Hopefully he'll show you something this year. The rest of the wide receivers on the roster, none of them are guaranteed a spot. I do think I've said this consistently. I'd like to see them add to the to the wide receiver core with a veteran receiver. I've talked about Will Fuller a lot. I don't understand why the Browns haven't gone down that road, especially with his experience. With Deshaun Watson. Will Fuller's a good player. I know he's injury prone, but you pay him to represent that. When he's been on the field, he's always been really good. And finally, I don't want to ignore the fullback, Johnny Stanton, who's very interactive with the fans on Twitter. Loves to play games, loves to play D&D with Myles Garrett. Shout out to him. He's the fullback. He's perfectly solid there. At tight end, David Njoku, as my buddy G. Bush would say, got the bag. He got paid. Now he got paid before he got the production. He has not been productive on the field, or not productive enough. He needs to be this year. So David Njoku, 1st round pick. You've been in the league 5 years. You've been an okay player. You've been an inconsistent player. You got paid like a top player. Now it's time to perform like it. Obviously, Harrison Bryant is a 2nd-year guy. He showed some good potential, I thought, last year. And I'll be curious to see if he can, step it up a notch. That's really all. Besides that, at the position, it's all young guys. We mentioned on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show the other day, Marcos Santos Silva, who's a really good basketball player. He's an undrafted rookie. Who knows? There's nobody I really heard of besides the top 2 guys. So I don't think they'll bring a veteran there. I think they'll go with one of these young guys as the third tight end, which is fine. I think they'll be less tight end dependent this year than they have been in the past, now, especially when Deshaun Watson plays. All right, we'll take a break. I'm going to dive deep into the defensive side of the ball when we come back next, right here. It's the Bullpen with Adam the Bull. Folks, I got to talk to you about, I know you love Built Bars. Who doesn't love Built Bars? But from the people who invented the healthy and tasty comes the latest gift for your taste buds. You've probably tried the amazing Coconut Brownie Chunk Built Bar. But guess what? Your friends at Built have given Coconut Brownie Chunk the Puffs treatment. Puff it up, baby. Coconut Brownie Chunk. I mean, this is where it's at. This is beautiful. The Coconut Brownie Chunk Built Bar flavor you love in a deliciously chewy marshmallow covered in 100% real chocolate. It's like a fluffy cloud of coconut brownie goodness. You cannot go wrong. Go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCK15, and get 15% off your order. This is awesome. Who doesn't want it? It tastes delicious. I can't wait to have another one. Go to Built.com, BUILT.com. Make sure you use the promo code LOCK15, LOCKED15, 15% off your order. It's a Built Bar from with LOCK15. That's the promo code. Make sure you do it. All right, we are back. Broke down the offense. Now let's dive deep into the defense here. So on paper, the defense is a mixed bag, right? Up front, there are question marks in some places and things that you're very happy with. We know what we got on the outside of the defensive line. Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney are as good a combo as you will find in the league. Top 5 combo on the outside, and Myles Garrett is a top 5 individual player. Great position there. But what about inside? What are you doing there? Well, that's the big question. Jordan Elliott was a third-round pick 2 years ago. He has not really produced. He's had some injury issues. He's going to have an opportunity, and I remember Mary Kay Cabot was on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show last week, and she's very optimistic about Jordan Elliott making an impact this season. I hope so. I know a lot of fans are excited about Perion Winfrey, the Browns' 4th-round pick this season. He fired everybody up on social media. But you don't win games on social media, you win them on the field. We'll see how much of a factor he is. So far, Tommy Togiai, 4th-round pick last year out of Ohio State, struggled in his opportunity. The Browns did sign a veteran in Tavian Bryant from Jacksonville. But there's no short things in the middle there. And would the Browns still go into free agency for Sheldon Richardson or Ndamukong Suh? Doesn't feel that way right now, but things could change, especially if we see how these guys are performing in camp. But hopefully between Brian, Elliott, Winfrey, Togiai, Sheldon Day, who's been here, and it's just young guys they signed as free agents, they can make an impact. Chase Winovich is another guy they brought in from New England who will probably be their 3rd outside pass rusher. He had a good rookie year with the Patriots, fell out of favor last year. Be interesting to see what he can do. Overall, I think it's hard to grade the Browns' defensive line going into the season because on the outside they're an A, and I even like Winovich as one of their outside guys. Alex Wright's a 3rd-round pick this year, has some potential too. But in the middle, I'm concerned. I don't trust any of those guys. I hope Jordan Elliott can step up and at least solidify one of those spots. And I know we'd all like to see Perion Winfrey get the other, but I don't have a ton of faith in that. I think that's the biggest weak spot on this team is defensive tackle. There's no doubt. At linebacker, really the Browns are. We're going to see a lot of time where they're going to only have 2 linebackers on the field quite a bit. And when they do, it'll be Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and Anthony Walker. And I'm good with that. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, I thought, performed very well as a rookie last year. Anthony Walker Jr. is what he is. He's a leader. He's a play caller. He's a solid player. He's not a star, but you don't need everybody to be a star on the defense. He's a great teammate. He's a good player. I'm good with that. I think they're fine. Depth-wise, Sione Takitaki was a high pick in 2019. Jacob Phillips was a high pick in 2020. Neither one has done much. This is probably their last opportunity. Besides that, there's, it's all undrafted guys, and Tony Fields was a late pick last year. So, better hope Walker and there's not much depth that I'm comfortable with. So if Anthony Walker and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah can stay healthy, you'll be fine. There is some depth concern there. But people are always worried about linebacker. I think they're fine there. I think they're fine. And as long as it's not a major injury, I think they should be okay. So you go from the defensive line, which is a mixed bag of great on the outside, big unknown on the inside. Linebacker, you're solid, not spectacular, but solid. And then you go to the secondary. And that's where the Browns' strength is on this defensive side of the ball. And it's really one of the biggest strengths on the team. They are loaded with talent in the secondary. Now, can it all come together and stay healthy? We will see. Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, Greedy Williams, 3 very talented. I mean, Denzel Ward's a star, just got paid. Greg Newsome was awesome as a rookie. Greedy Williams is, as a third corner, good player, but all 3 have to be able to stay healthy. It's been a major issue for those guys to be able to stay healthy. They're all good to great players. A.J. Green as their fourth corner. I mean, he's okay as a fourth quarter, fine. At safety, I think you need more from John Johnson this year. He's a talented player, but he didn't have a great first year with the Browns. Grant Delpit, again, very talented player. Health issues there, and Ronnie Harrison. I mean, they've got great talent and good depth in the secondary. I mean, you've got 6-7 defensive backs, and they drafted another DB this year in the 3rd round, Martin Emerson Jr. Haven't heard much about him in camp, in the offseason. We'll see in training camp. There's really good depth in the secondary, and they need it because they've got all kinds of injury-prone guys. If they could actually stay healthy in the secondary, man, they could be the best secondary in the NFL. That's how good it is. So when you look at the overall talent of this roster, is it overrated? No. Are they great everywhere? No, but nobody is. The Browns have a very talented roster. For me, forgetting quarterback because we don't know what's going to be there, they have an A backfield. They have an A offensive line. They have a B- wide receiver group. They have a B- tight end group. On the defensive line, I'm going to go with a B. A-. I'm torn because I love what they do outside, but I have major concerns in the inside. I got to give it a B overall, as good as Myles Garrett is and Clowney. Linebacker, B. Solid B. Maybe B-. Secondary, A. And if they're healthy, A++. There's no bad unit on this team. The biggest concern on this roster is defensive tackle. That's the only position I don't feel comfortable with. I'm a little concerned with the depth at linebacker. I'm a little concerned with the depth at wide receiver. But in terms of starting spots, I'm comfortable everywhere with this roster except for defensive tackle. Which means that if Jacoby Brissett has to play 4 games or 6 games or 8 games, I can't ask the team to carry the quarterback for a whole season. But for part of the season, this team is talented enough to they got to be 500 or 1 game, or at least, if he's suspended, let's say 8 games. If he's suspended 8 games, the rest of this roster is talented enough with Jacoby Brissett to get them 4 or 5 wins. And that's what they need to do. They need to hold the fort until Deshaun Watson comes back. And they may need to do more because Deshaun Watson's going to be rusty. If he misses 8 games, it's going to be almost 2 calendar years since he plays. I can't forget special teams. I know my man Jay Crawford's excited about Cade York. Listen, I'm not a fan of drafting kickers, certainly not in the 4th round. In the end, if Cade York ends up being the next great kicker in the NFL, it'll be worth it. If he stinks and he's cut before the end of the first year, disaster's a little strong because it's a 4th round pick. But Cade York was excellent in college. You never know if it translates. We got to see him in games. I can't give a grade for Cade York. He's never played in the NFL. I have no idea. So we'll see. Bjorquez, who's a free agent they signed from Green Bay, is going to be the punter. I'll be honest, I hadn't even thought about punter. I didn't even remember who their punter was until I just looked at the depth chart just now. Jakeem Grant's an interesting guy in terms of returns. He's a wide receiver, but he really is a return guy. So he should be a good upgrade for them in returns. So the special teams, I got to give it an incomplete. I don't know the punter. The kicker's a rookie. I think they'll be better in the return game, but we'll see. That's been an issue for this team. Special teams have been a major issue for this team this year. All right, got to take one more quick break. When we come back, I hope you enjoyed my breakdown on the Browns. When we come back, I'm going to get to a few other things, some news of the day, and some thoughts on the Guardians as they split a doubleheader yesterday against the White Sox. That's coming up in just a moment, but first, I want to tell you about betonline.net. Of course, your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. BetOnline is your continued source for everything you need. Sports wagering information, live betting, esports, and scores. This is a must-use if you're playing that game, if you're into it, if you're trying to figure out the angles. You got to go with betonline.net. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. It's really that simple. It's my choice, should be yours as well. Bet online, where the game starts. Well, hopefully the Guardians are getting out of this terrible slump they'd been in. They lost 6 of 7 last week to the Tigers and Royals. They won the first 2 games against the White Sox, beat them Monday 8-4, won the day game in the doubleheader yesterday 4-1. Yesterday was a clunker last night. I'm not surprised. I thought they'd probably lose that game. I picked them to lose that game on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Connor Pilkington's been up and down. I just think I haven't been overly impressed with him. And Dylan Cease, if you're not paying attention, Dylan Cease for the White Sox has been absolutely lights out. And the pitching matchup favored the White Sox, and not surprisingly, it ended up a 7-0 game. And it was within reach until the 9th. White Sox put it away in the 9th with 3 runs, but we'll see if the Guardians can complete the series with a win here. They've taken 2 or 3 from the White Sox. Can they get it done today against the White Sox to take 3 out of 4 in this series for the team that's trying to catch them from behind? Again, tough pitching matchup today. Aaron Savali against Lucas Giolito. But Lucas Giolito, who's had been really good the last few years, he has struggled this year. So I like the way Savali he's pitched better lately. Even though Giolito has struggled, and even though Savali has struggled, I kind of have a hunch both will pitch decent games today. Not great, but decent. Savali is coming off a good performance against the Royals. But he's been inconsistent all year. He pitched against the Yankees. Even against the Yankees, he wasn't. 4 runs in 6 innings is not good, but against that lineup, 7 base runners in 6 innings is not bad. He pitched a decent game against the Twins a couple of weeks ago. He pitched a really good game against the Tigers, but those are worse opponents. Now the White Sox haven't been great, but this would be big because the White Sox are making a run at second place. And if the Guardians can win today, they'll be up 2.5 on the White Sox, with just a few games to go before the All-Star break. Again, I don't think the Guardians are streaking anywhere towards a playoff spot, but hopefully they'll have a good week here to end the All-Star break so they don't go into the All-Star break with on a sour note after that just absolutely dreadful week. They get another chance to, after getting swept in a 4-game series with the Tigers, they'll play a 4-game series with the Tigers here in Cleveland starting tomorrow after finishing this game with the White Sox, finishing the series with the White Sox. So we'll see. I like I do like the Guardians to win tonight. And every pitcher's got one more start. The Guardians really do. I think Giolito's the pitching advantage, but the rest of these starts down the stretch, they have the better pitcher going. Shane Bieber yesterday in that first game, that was vintage Shane Bieber. He looked awesome again against a good White Sox lineup, or a decent White Sox lineup. I thought Bieber was fantastic. Went the distance. It was good to see. All right. I hope you enjoyed this latest edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull. Coming up tomorrow, I'll get a little more into the wide receiver rankings. We'll give you the latest on Deshaun Watson and his status. Talk some more about potential trades and potential free agent ads for the Browns. And we'll get into some other things as well. As always, please follow me on Twitter. There you go, Adam the Bull on Twitter. Make sure you check out the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, streaming live weekdays on YouTube from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Check out the Locked On Browns podcast with my guy G. Bush and Jeff Lloyd. Make sure you check out my website, adamthebull.com. You could there's things there. A little tab says "Book the Bull" if you want to. I'm available for weddings. I can marry you. I'm legal. I'm a reverend. Yes, I am. And also check out my Cameo. If you want a video for your friend for a birthday or just to make fun of your friend. The last video I did on Cameo, I was ripping a guy for being terrible at fantasy football. And I'm having fun making those videos. So check me out there as well. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Where else but right here in the Bullpen with Adam the Bull. Have a good day, everybody.